Hello loves, and welcome to my channel, Dragons and Damsels. Here we will be discussing a multitude of things from myths and legends to occult concepts and makeup. Here lies my introduction to tarot cards, their history, and a coverage of its meaning. Tarot is one of the most used divination practices in the world. It has its roots in many different areas of the world, and its origins are often debated. It's been argued that they originated in Egypt, with the Kabbalists, or many other areas of people in the world. A few decades before tarot was born, ordinary playing cards came to Europe by the way of the Arabic peoples, arriving in many different cities between 1375 and 1378. These cards were an adaptation of an Islamic playing game at the time. They had the different suits that we know now, the suits of cups, swords, coins, and at the time, polo sticks, which would soon and later become wands. Like common playing cards, tarot has 4 suits, which would vary by region. Over time, this would include French suits in Northern Europe, Latin suits in Southern Europe, and the Germanic suits in Central Europe. The deck also included courts consisting of 2 underlings, the page, as we all know, as well as the knight. Later, the Fool, the Trumps, and a set of queens were added to the system of playing cards. Originally, these were never used for divination, but instead a game referred to at the time as tarotchi. I probably butchered that. But it would eventually turn into the word tarot. The earliest form of tarot that was as similar as it is today is said to have been made by an artist by the name of Marolino in 1540 in Italy. Although over time, several philosophers would make connections to the ancient Egyptian Hermeticism or the Jewish Kabbalistic practices. Others, the head of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, would eventually write down these attributes of tarot in a work called Book T. It was written in 1887. His work mostly focused on the major arcana. This typically consisted of a series of cards, sometimes beginning with the Fool as number 0, or ending with the Fool as number 22, depending on the deck. They codified the meaning of the minor arcana, consisted of 56 cards divided into 14 cards each, of 4 suits. Then, in 1910, A.E. Waite's Key to the Tarot, which was issued with a full 78-card deck, was released. This included art from Pamela Colman Smith, who was a member of the Golden Dawn. But this would eventually become one of the earliest and most well-known tarot decks, the Rider-Waite deck. It is even still used today. Aleister Crowley, who we all have mixed feelings about, popularized the deck as it is today as well. So let's break this down a little bit, because we can get caught up in the history. Let's speak a little bit about the major arcana cards of the deck. The major arcana is best described as a hero's journey. Each card represents a step on that path, and it best describes humanity. It starts with the Fool, who is a representation of humanity, the main character of a story, some would say, and it would end with the World, which is the culmination of what someone has learned on their journey. Each card has a symbolism that stays pretty consistent amongst different decks. Such as the crab being on the moon, or the Fool having a pet dog, or even the broken crown on the Tower card. A lot of these symbolisms come from astrology and other occult correspondences that helped build the symbolism towards the art of the original deck. And you'll see that even among modern decks and modern takes on the decks, they will often have the same symbology as the original ones. Now, the minor arcana is a really good breakdown of the nuances of these journeys, or this journey in particular, with each suit breaking down an aspect of life. The suits are as follows. We have the cup suit, which best represents our emotions and how we feel through them through our lives. Swords most often represents logic and how it affects us and how we keep our logistical thoughts. Pentacles and coins represents wealth and earthly possessions. And lastly, wands usually represents action, the different types of actions that we can take. Each of these suits have court cards, as stated earlier, a king, a queen, a page, and a knight. As for what the suits themselves represent, we can break them down a lot further, but I think I will do that on every ace card as I go. When doing a tarot reading, there are hundreds of different card spreads that you can use, and I find that it is best to find the meaning on your own. Develop your own meaning for these cards, as in the end, you're relying on your own intuition to define these cards. I also think that spreads are important to develop on your own because it helps you build your own relationship with the deck, with divination in general. Using a guide as framework can be helpful and is of course not looked down upon, as everyone needs to learn and start to learn somewhere. But I find that doing your own research helps the most. Another thing that I should mention is that card reversals can also be used. I personally don't use them because I believe that if a card wants to call me out, it will, regardless of whether it's face up or not. The first video of this series, I will break down the Fool and what it means, and then I will go through the entire Major Arcana. I then might go through each card in the Minor Arcana. That'll depend on how well this goes, and if it goes well, comment below. If you have any questions as we go, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to answer any questions as we proceed. I love you all dearly, thank you for coming, and have a wonderful awakening.